Hi and welcome to Menstrual Cups and Cloth Pads Kenya. So I haven't been filming really regularly for the last couple of weeks, and that's because I've been going through a couple of things, and because they relate to menstrual health in general, I thought I might as well make a video about them. So I have been on the IUD for maybe 2 years, maybe almost 2 years, 2 years in April. And I was on a hormonal IUD. I was on the Mirena, I believe. My periods got shorter. The actual days of my period were light and short, and then I just had this like really long, exaggerated spotting. So I just got fed up of that, to be honest. And then also, I think my mindset sort of changed. I'm transitioning to vegan. And I was like, I don't really want to have these hormones inside me if I don't need to. And also, I started using reusable menstrual products. Like, I was like, are my periods going to disappear just when I bought all these beautiful, like, pads? And I'm sure 2 or 3 years ago, if somebody told me I'm going to give you something, and maybe that's even the conversation I had with the nurse, although I don't really remember it. Maybe she said one of the side effects is that a lot of women their period disappears, and I was like, sign me up, sister, like I was like, I don't want any periods. But 2 years down the line, like, just I think my mental space is just completely different. So I'd already been thinking about it for a while, and then that last period just tipped me over the edge. I was just like, you know what, I'm done, I'm gonna get this thing out. So and I go in, I see the gynecologist, and she's like digging around in there for, I'm going to say, a solid 10 minutes. And then she's like, I don't see the strings. And I was like, what you talking about, Willis? And she was like, I think the person who put it in cut them too short. So let's just make sure that it's actually in there. Let me send you for an ultrasound. So I went for an ultrasound the following day. And when I go in, the lady's like, hey, you've got fibroids. And I was like, what? And she was like, you've got some fibroids here. But she just said it in a super casual manner. Like, I didn't even think anything of it. So after the ultrasound, I go back with the results to see the gynecologist. And she's like, okay, it's definitely there. But because we can't reach it, we need to send you to the main hospital so that you can have it removed under sedation in minor theatre. So I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? She's like, yeah, we can't remove it, it's not safe, because if it's gone right up into the uterus, to get in, to open the cervix into the sort of leading into the uterus would be extremely painful. So anyway, that's the doctor, right? So doctor knows best. So I'm like, okay, fine, just book me. I just want this thing out. And I go to the hospital on the Saturday morning, having not eaten or drunk anything for 6 hours in preparation for my theatre. And I turn up and they're like, we have no booking for you in theatre. I was like, what are you talking about? Booking was made on Tuesday, it's Saturday. They were like, yeah, no, sorry, there's no booking. So they're trying to call the doctor. Doctor's not picking up. So I'm like, what is happening? This is the Twilight Zone. So I was like, look, I'm not leaving. I want to see a doctor because I've not driven all this way for nothing. So I go in and I'm like, hi, doc. And I explain that, look, I'm trying to get my IUD removed and apparently it's disappeared. And, I was supposed to have minor theatre to get it out and I can't. Nobody was, wasn't booked in. So I don't know what to do at this point. So he's like, okay, right, let me just pull up your records. So he pulls up the records and he's kind of reading through. He's like, okay, blah, 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 blah. Then he goes, oh, your fibroids are huge. And he goes, you didn't know? And I was like, I mean, the ultrasound lady told me that I have fibroids, but she didn't say it the way you're saying it. And he was like, yeah, no, oh my gosh, they're massive. You've got these 2 huge ones the size of oranges, and then you've got these 10 little ones. So I'm like, what? Like, I just, honestly, his response and the ultrasound technician's response, completely different. So he's like, oh my gosh, these are huge. And he starts running through these symptoms. um, of fibroids. And he says, back pain? I was like, nope. He was like, pain during sex? I was like, nope. He was like, heavy bleeding? I was like, no. In fact, I was like, on the contrary, my periods have always been light to average. Constipation? I was like, definitely not. Especially on my like new vegan diet, like definitely not. He's going like, okay, so like this sort of this is terrible type of thing. So I'm like, okay, well, what are you suggesting? And he was like, personally, I think you should have a hysterectomy. So I am just like cartoon shock face. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, because they're going to grow and they're going to just get worse and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, they could give you kidney problems. So I am in complete shock. So I'm like, why isn't fibroid removal surgery an option? And he said, oh, because they grow back really aggressively. So I was just like thinking, what the hell is this? I'm just completely shocked, like just shocked. I'm barely speaking at this point. So he says, okay, so to tell you what, you go home, go through, do some research, have a think about it. So I was like, fine, okay. So I make an appointment to see my family doctor because honestly, I don't even know where to turn. I don't know what to do. Like, I've just had this advice from one of the, he's like a very highly respected gynecologist. So I'm just like, what? I don't even know where to go at this point. So I see her and she's, just as shocked as I was. She's like, honestly, a hysterectomy is just a bit knee-jerk. Like, if there is not an absolute need for one, then it's not necessary. And certainly not at your age as well. So she then recommends another gynecologist. She said he's like fantastic, chairman of the, Gynecological Association of Kenya or something like that. And she's like, go and see him. She's like, if there's something about fibroids that he doesn't know, then it's not worth knowing. So I went to go and see him and I explained the whole thing. And he was like, right, okay. You don't need to be in minor you don't need to be in minor theatre for IUD removal. We'll just pop you onto this bed here, pop your legs in the stirrups, get an alligator forceps. Oh, such an unfortunate name because it's the cutest little thing. And he's like, yeah, let's just get this thing out. And I'm like, nah, because of course now I've freaked out. I thought like these guys were like, it's going to be so painful. So I was like, I don't need painkillers. And the nurse is like, what do you mean, for after? I was like, no, for before. She's looking at me like I'm crazy. So literally like 12 seconds in and he's just like, here we go. He's pulled it out. I was like, oh, it was so unceremonious. Like literally, I felt like there should have been like a drum roll or something. So I was like, look, I want to talk about the fibroids. And he said, honestly, your fibroids are not that big. You have no symptoms. The kidney thing is such a small percentage of people. He was like, we'd remove them if you had really heavy bleeding or severe pain. And we had this like lovely chat about the fibroids, and he was so reassuring as well that I just left there so elated, and I was like, I ran home and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to film a video. I think that, knowledge is power, sharing is caring, and I hope that somebody somewhere will benefit from what I have gone through and from what I have learned along the way. And actually, a friend of mine got in touch with me. She's what would I call it? A naturopath? Is that the word? And she's like, hey, I shrunk my fibroids. In fact, I got rid of them completely just using natural methods. So I'm going to be exploring over the next 6 months or so. I'm going to be exploring natural ways to reduce your fibroids. So if anybody's interested, I can post about it. If not, I'm still going to post about it. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day.